So it's a Sunday morning, autumn 2025. I'm wandering around a building known as the Francis Newton, which is now a Wetherspoons pub. Before that, it used to be a pub called Aunt Sally, it was. And before that, it wasn't a pub at all. It was actually part of King Edward VII's of Broomhall School, except this bit wasn't here. This is a new bit that was added, I think, in the 1990s. But I've come to this bit because right here there used to be a stable block that was also part of King Edward School, and it was the art department. And right here was the footprint of the building. As you can see, there's a gable end there, and there was a long narrow building that came down from there where this car park now is. And it used to go, well, down here through that new wing there. And this was the formerly stable block, but it became the art department of the school. In the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, the art department was here. Isn't that an amazing gable end? I wanted to film down here for ages, but a car park's completely full in the day, so you can't really see it. But the footprint of the building is right here. I'm going to see if I can find some pictures of it. I did try the other day and I couldn't find anything at all. Something that wasn't photographed very often. Anyway, they built this new wing when they turned it into licensed premises, and it's kind of difficult to see, but I'm now standing inside the art department of King Edward's, which was a two-storey building. I'd at this point be standing in the ground floor, and upstairs was also the art department, where I did my A-level art exam in May 1980. Wow. And round the back here there was some car parking and more outbuildings. This place was known as Lynwood Annexe when it was part of King Edward's. Look at that wonderful old entrance. I don't think that was actually in use when this was part of King Edward's School. Can't remember. But anyway, this new block here wasn't here. But the two-storey part of this building is the original building that once was a house built for an industrial magnate. Then it became part of King Edward's School, I think either in the late 60s and all the way through to the 90s. I think I'll be able to find some pictures of this, but these are, to all intents, the original sash windows. Right in there used to be the music department. I remember it. It's a Wetherspoons pub now, of course. There was another building that protruded out the side here that I think was just some kind of coal house or storage area. And this original entrance, that was still here, and that is magnificent. As I said, once upon a time this was called Lynwood House, but I think it had a few other names when it was built. Francis Newton is the name of the Wetherspoons pub because Francis Newton, I believe, was the gentleman who actually lived in this house when it was built a long time ago. So that's the modern extension to this building, because as you can see, without that modern extension, the two-storey part of the building sort of isn't that large. But for King Edward's, it was the music department and I think the languages department as well, back in the day. This is the garden of that house, and at one time it used to be much more extensive than it is now, as you'd expect from an industrial magnate who could afford to build his own house. Up there was fairly large grounds. This here is the way into, it used to be some kind of basement. I think it's now just the cellar to the pub, but interesting. There are some stories about when they started converting this old house into a pub, that they found lots of black magic symbols and evidence of devil worship and stuff in the basement here. But I've not been able to find any pictures of that. So anyway, these are the gardens of what originally was, well, one of its names, Lynwood House. Now, when I was at school at King Edward's between 1977 and 1980, as I've already said, that building there that's now Wetherspoon's pub was part of the school, the music and languages department. This car park wasn't here. This was all grass and flower beds, so all the garden extended into this car park here. There might have been some trees here as well, I can't remember, but there was certainly no car parking. And you could walk down here because King Edward's had two buildings. They had the building there that was called Lynwood Annexe, and then walking straight down here you could get to another location that was called Springvale Annexe. That is a building that isn't there anymore. And right here, it's gone now, but there was an enormous tree. You see that tree there? It was kind of like that, but bigger. And it was right in the middle here, and we used to sit here in the summer under this tree between lessons, moving between Lynwood Annexe and Springvale Annexe. Now they've turned this place now into sort of public gardens. Let's have a look. Welcome to Lynwood Gardens. Community Nature Reserve. So all this was part of the gardens for Lynwood House, which, when it was part of the school, was lovely in the summer. Now it's all been landscaped. Some of these footpaths were here when it was part of King Edward's, but not, I can't remember specifically. But right down here, we would find what was called Springvale Annexe, which was a big old house. The developers have been in, of course, since the 90s and changed everything, as you would expect. Now I'm going to have a go and see if I can find some pictures of Springvale House. I did manage to find one once, but I don't know what happened to it. But right here was one of the buildings I was at school at in the late 70s, Springvale House, which was used as a sixth form common room. The footprint of the building would be here. That's the retaining wall, I think, for the garden of the house back in the day. But yeah, the house, Springvale Annexe, would have been here. That was used as a, I think it's always been some kind of school. Before it was King Edward's, it was part of a special school, I think. No trace of it now, but we've still got the, what would have been the garden wall. And that road there, that may have been an entrance to the house originally. I don't remember, because there's been so much redevelopment that's happened here. But from what I can remember, you'd walk past Springvale House that was here, and you'd go down here, and this is kind of going into the Broomhall area, and there were lots and lots of streets of derelict terraced houses that were awaiting demolition. So I'll see if I can find any pictures of those, but as you can see, these are relatively new houses. Right here, there was just a row of derelict terraced houses, and I explored them with some friends at school. Some of them were boarded up, some of them weren't, but they were all completely trashed. All of this area around here now has been completely redeveloped. Unrecognisable. As I said, it was just rows and rows of derelict old terraced houses in the late 70s. There's the Hallamshire Hospital up here, just to give you kind of location aspect. So Gloucester Crescent, this is called, which I think is its original name. Yeah, I can remember right here. There was a long block of derelict, old Victorian kind of villas, or terraced villas, all completely trashed. It was kind of scary. All gone. Those weren't there. That's a new development. Those are new developments there. But Gloucester Crescent was here. Walking across the footprint of what was Springvale Annexe, or Springvale House as it was originally known. I can remember it as the sixth form common room when I was at school in the late 70s. And the domestic science department was on the ground floor. And on the upper floor, there was just kind of empty classrooms. We had a sixth form common room with very knackered old sofas, a record player, and it was also full of fleas. Wonderful. So that's the wall. Right there. Looking at Springvale Annexe. As was. Which I always found a really strange and restful place. There was it's the original wall there. So this is back in what was Lynwood House Gardens, which they've now just retitled as a park. But as you can see, there's an old house there. That looks a little bit like Springvale House did. In fact, there was a collection of big old houses here. Yeah, Springvale House was pretty much built in that kind of style. Very grand old Victorian building. We're sort of between Broomhill and Broomhall here, which was once a very salubrious area in Victorian Sheffield. Not anymore. Lynwood Gardens. Original gate here. Now this was the actual entrance to Springvale Annexe or Springvale House. There used to be a nameplate on here that now just says Lynwood Gardens, but I think it used to say Springvale House. So we've got some wonderful old kind of, what are they, Victorian villas on this road. which is just an old private road, I think this was. In fact, it might be a private road now, I don't know. There we go, Hyde Place. What an absolutely splendid building. Look at that iron gateway there. Hyde Villas, that's called. It's just splendid. As you can probably tell from these surviving buildings, this area was once very gentrified. So last Sunday I was filming at Collegiate Crescent, the Sheffield Hallam University site, which they're sort of slowly pulling out of. And this is quite close to that. In fact, we're not far from the bit that I didn't film last week, which was Springvale House, but I'm not going there. Oh, look at that view. I wonder who lived there. They're just so imposing and majestic. It's just a pity we've lost Springvale House. So if you didn't know this park existed, which used to be Lynwood House Gardens, it's called Lynwood Park and Nature Reserve. It's kind of quite small and there's not much to see really, and it's below what is now the Wetherspoons pub, the Francis Newton, where I once went to school, and that makes me feel very old. Places where I went to school have been demolished and replaced with modern housing. I mean, I guess it's the same for everybody who's kind of my age. Things from the past just aren't there anymore. But coming down here to the sixth form common room, walking down these paths, as I said, I can't remember which ones were here originally. Some of these might have been created when they turned it into a kind of mini park, but it was lovely and tranquil. King Edward VII School is still there. They just have the main buildings now across the main road, but they did used to have what is now the Francis Newton Wetherspoons pub. As I said, that was one of their departments, and the demolished Springvale House that was down there. They also had another building on Newbold Lane, which is now part of the girls' school. So King Edward's as a school has completely consolidated and got rid of all their kind of outlying buildings. Just going to walk along this part of Lynwood Gardens. Lynwood Gardens Community Orchard. So, oh yes, look, apple trees. Community Orchard. So at least they haven't built new housing complexes on here and completely destroyed the gardens. So yeah, these are some kind of community gardens. Just below Lynwood House there. I think they actually have some events here, kind of mini festivals and things. It's looking a bit wet and sorry for itself at the moment. We had a lot of torrential rain yesterday. Now this wasn't here when I was at school at the Lynwood building. I think this was all just overgrown. And right here there used to be part of a building that was a special school that was attached to, or part of the complex that Springvale House, which was just down there, was part of. So there was an old school building here, and I believe, I'm not certain, but that brick wall there was part of it, part of the original building that was demolished. Looks like it might have been. So yeah, there's a lot of history down here. Broomhall, of course, is absolutely loaded with history, as you probably know. And it's a great place for a walk around. So yeah, I can't remember what it was called. Was it called Springvale School that was here? I'll have to look that up. If I can find out, I'll put some stuff on screen. But it's loaded with history around here. Walking back through the community orchard. I wonder actually who takes care of this place. Oh, look at that. Little bell. It's an amazing place. It's got a really restful feeling to it down here. Now, I've walked down here a few times, but I was walking here a lot back in between 1977 and 1979 when I was at King Edward School, walking down here to Springvale Annexe, sitting under that great big tree that used to be there, which I showed you where that mark on the ground is. It's good the building hasn't been demolished and it's been repurposed as a pub, but you know, when you're sitting in there drinking a pint of Guinness, there's a lot that you've missed in terms of history. So there we have it. Lynwood House, or Lynwood Annexe, aka the Francis Newton, or Aunt Sally's, as it was for a while. Down here just off Clark House Road. And incidentally, this is my favourite Wetherspoons pub in Sheffield because it's just so quiet and peaceful here. I really do like it. Now I'm going to go and have some breakfast. It's a little bit chilly out this morning, otherwise I would take one of these tables and have breakfast. But we are heading into autumn.
The yellow